dark and creepy sounding, and we're going to break this up into two sections. You heard the two riffs. I'm going to go over these with you, and then we're going to put up the tabs. We're going to play along. So this is a really cool riff, by the way, because it's going to break you out of the norm. You're playing some different stuff here. By the way, if you're part of the Jason Stallworth Guitar Academy, you have the tabs and the multiple backing tracks. All right, so this first part, I'm going to play it out in the open, then we'll break it down. All I'm doing is I've got a finger placed on the 4th fret of the B string, and we're going to go to the 3rd fret of that same string. We're going to pick those notes as we're going back and forth between the open E string for that part. So it's like this. I'm already kind of in the position to place my pinky finger on the G string, because here's where we switch over to playing the G and B strings instead of B and E. So I just bring that 4th finger down, and you'll see I'm holding that 1st finger in place, the 3rd fret there, right? So I can bring my pinky finger down to the G string 6th fret to play this. Now that is a bit of a stretch because, again, G string 6th fret, B string 3rd fret, and all I'm doing after we play that is just moving it up a fret, okay? Or down a fret rather. So we're on 6 and 3, and then we go to 5 and 2. You do want that overlap to ring out because that's what's creating that really obscure sound and feeling. So let's play through that. I'll throw the tabs up. We'll go through this a couple of times. Now we go right into the second part, or the second riff rather, and this is where you just have that really just obscure dissonant sound, and then we go straight into some really chunky and heavy power chords and some heavy palm muting there, but then we kind of like throw in this tremolo picking, this death metal style, kind of like a black metal style. This could totally be like a, a black metal style tune here, but we go to this part here. Okay, and all we're doing is we're basing that on the F power chord and E power chord to start out. And we'll break this down. Of course, I'll throw up the tabs at the end here. But we're just playing a variation of the F power chord. And of course, we're on the 1st and 2nd strings here, E and A. And the frets we're starting with are 1 and 2, followed by 1 and 3. And I talk about variations of power chords a lot in my lessons because they're just so cool. Instead of playing the normal power chord, we do something like this. Okay, so that's how we're playing the F power chord. We're doing like a variation. So again, E and A strings, frets 1 and 2 followed by 1 and 3. So after that we go to the E power chord, but we sort of like do this part in reverse. We change that 2nd note of the power chord on here just like we did with the F power chord, but we change that 2nd note to go in reverse. And what I mean by that is, listen to this. So there, we're playing the E power chord, open string, E string, 2nd fret, A string, but then we're going open E string, 1st fret, A string. And that's what gives you that really wicked sound. And I'm palm muting that. I'm hitting the full power chord, and then I'm palm muting that full power chord, meaning both notes. After that, we go back to that first variation of the F power chord, followed by the regular F power chord. So that part's the same again. Now the tremolo picking part, let me play this through so you can hear how it is in context. Okay, so I'll just call out the frets. We're playing on the D and the G strings, and we're going to go on the D string, fret 3, 4, then G string, 6, 5. Okay, so that combination notes, this sounds really cool by the way, and we're tremolo picking that. So let's put the tabs up, let's play this through a couple of times. Now there's some other things I want you to do with this riff once you learn it, but real quick, if you do not have my free Metal Riffs and Licks practice guide, grab a copy of that. That has helped thousands of guitar players take their guitar playing to that next level. And of course, if you already have Metal Riffs and Licks and videos like this help you, then consider joining the Jason Stallworth Guitar Academy. I mentioned tabs and backing tracks for lessons like this, and there's a lot more that you get as well, but hey, check that out. There's a link in the description to both in this video. The riff, once you learn these riffs, once you get them down, you know, I always say that I want you to do some things to make them your own, but here I want to give you some practical ways to do that. Now, a couple of tips to make this riff your own, because that's what I always encourage you to do, is take what I'm sharing with you, but then like do something else with it. Like, what are you hearing in your head as you play through this? And once you get it down and you've got all the notes, like, okay, well, I've got this pretty tight now, you're going to start getting ideas like, well, what if I did this instead? So take, for example, we started out with this, right? So take that first part, for example. What if you did something different with it? Like, let's just make something up. Okay, and that's just one small change. I just went somewhere else with it. And honestly, it doesn't matter where you go because you're experimenting. There's no wrong or right way to go about this. But that's just one of many things, and it's just simply moving some of the notes around, like just doing something else. If you're like, no, that didn't sound quite cool, I just didn't really like that, then you don't have to play it again, but just keep experimenting. I also want to point out is that the riffs don't always have to be, you know, chunky and heavy. They can be, that's cool, but you can start some of your songs out or start some of your riffs out with some of these higher notes, right? Once again, I just changed some notes around. I took that same position and just, you know, slid it around to some different areas to see what that sounded like. The last thing I want to point out is we did something else obscure here. We went from those higher notes that you normally wouldn't play in a metal riff, to the heavy chunky stuff, but then to these tremolo picking notes, this riff like in the middle here, in the middle strings, the D and G strings. So we had like, you know, really 3 different things going on here. And I'd say that to say this, I just want to challenge you to don't be afraid to venture out and just throw something else in that maybe it doesn't seem like it would fit, but I say try it anyway and just see what that sounds like. So I do hope this lesson helped you. Don't forget to check out the links, Metal Riffs and Licks, your free practice guide. If you haven't gotten that yet, then do grab a copy. If you already have that, hey, check out the Jason Stallworth Guitar Academy. I hope you had fun learning this riff. Remember, you can always go back through the video and point out the parts where the tabs are if you don't quite have those down, and just keep going over this. I think that'll help you. Until the next video, as always, keep it metal and keep playing music.
Hey!